Hello, everyone. Oh my goodness. It is the end of the year. Can you believe it? So, as people are coming in, I am Dr. Natalie Phillips. I am host of Just Connect, and this is the last episode of the year. Oh my gosh. So, I am going to get some share action going while I talk to you a little bit about just some thoughts that I've been having about this year. So, you guys, it is a year, and I did it. I actually, did live videos for a year. So anybody who's out there that is just like, I don't know whether I should go live or not, just commit to it. I'll tell you a little story about my commitment to going live. I know that it was something that I wanted to do. And, a couple of friends had told me that I need to do some different things live. And I was just like, I do not want to do this. And so, I committed to it at the beginning of this year. And I wanted to make sure that I did it. And so it was funny because I actually, would show up initially whenever I felt like it. And one of the reasons why I did that was because, I kind of like didn't care if anybody like came and watched because I was a little nervous and I didn't want to see myself on camera. And so I never really announced when I was going to go live in the beginning of the year. I remember the very first time that I went live was before my very first meeting of the year, and it was with a wonderful woman here. Her name is Sarah Monaris. I was sitting in the car before I actually went and I met with her, and that was my very first live video. I think it was just a few days after the new year turned, and I was committed to going live, and I just remember that I sat there and I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to say? I'm not really too sure what to do. And then, it just took off after that. And so the reason why I brought Sarah up is because she was somebody that when I first met her, it was something that we just clicked and we decided to do an event. And so in the event that we did this year, it was called Unbreakable. So for those of you who watched some of my episodes, you noticed that we did some different, I was doing some different events, but one of the events that I helped run was with this Sarah Monaris, and she was my very first meeting of the year last year after I went live. And so it's so good for people to come in now to see you. It's been a year. I'm so excited to talk to you about the next year and what my thoughts are about this next year. But again, I am just kind of talking about the year in the last year, how I went live, and I actually went live for a year. I was so excited before I decided to just kind of show up. But then when I met Marcus Stone, my really good friend, he said, you have to be intentional and you have to actually schedule something, and you have to, it's almost like it's a show where people will show up if you set the time. And so I really tried to set the time, make sure that people, kind of knew when I was going to be live. Even if I was traveling, I tried really hard to communicate. Guys, it's not hard, and so I really want to encourage some of you who are thinking about going live to actually go out and do it this next year. All right. So let's get to the topic that I wanted to talk about today. And I love talking about this topic, and I really wanted to focus on it today because, there are tons of people that are just thinking about, what am I going to do in the new year? What kind of goals should I set? Should I set health goals? Should I set business goals? What should I do? How am I going to walk into the new year and really frame my mind around this mindset of this is 2020, and so this is going to be a big year, I feel, for a lot of us. And so I kind of wanted to go back and share a little bit about what I've been doing in the beginning of each year. And it kind of starts with just thinking about, instead of thinking about New Year's resolutions, what I have done that I have absolutely loved is picking a word of the year. And I know, and I've been seeing people on social media, and they're doing really well with that because there's different ways to do it. And I want to talk about some of the reasons why I chose to do this over New Year's resolutions. And it all came back to an article in 2016 that I read by Inc. magazine. And I was just blown away. It was the first year I decided to do this. And this article, was written, and, basically what the people in the article, I wrote down the authors. And so this advice came from Dan Britton, Jimmy Page, and John Gordon. And they were co-authors of one word that will change your life. And it's a book. And in this book, these authors who've been using this technique for years have really tried to get people to do this because they kind of set aside, or they set up a step-by-step process that I want to walk you through about picking a word and how discovering and using this word can actually make you happier, more effective, healthier, and more successful. And going into the new year, I just love doing this. And for the past, 4 years, actually, I've been doing this for 4 years, since 2016. Was my first year. I've picked a word, and in addition to that, I actually challenged other people to pick a word as well. And in order to do that, what I did was I kept track of everybody who decided to do this with me, and then I would check in every so often to make sure, that they were progressing. Now, so my first word of the year was growth. That was in 2016. 2017 was rise. 2018 was soar. And then this past year, my word of the year was action. And so it's been interesting because my accountability partner this year, Reggie Corona, for those of you who know her, her word was action as well. And so, having this word, I was challenged by another friend to step up my game, Lisa Copeland. And she said, instead of just picking a word, why don't you do an acronym? And so I did choose an acronym for action, but together with Reg, what we did was we took our word to the next level. And so we were shocked that we both actually independently chose a word that was very similar to each other. And it was very cool because we were together last year in December, and we decided that not only was action going to be a word for us, but we were going to hold each other accountable. So over breakfast, what we did was we talked about how are we going to actually take action. Well, we decided to have at least a monthly call, if not, twice a month, and then text in between. But a monthly call. And then what we did was we set goals and we checked in with each other on these goals. And after a while, we saw that, oh my gosh, we were taking off on some of these goals. And so we decided to actually write a book together. And I know that some of you who follow me, you've seen me talk about this book, and it's talking about action. It's talking about how our accountability together and our word action together is now going to push it forward, so that way we can show people that having these things in place around your word takes you to another level, and it helps you, fulfill this word that you've chose for the year. And so for me, it was easier to remember a word than remember all these different New Year's resolutions. So it was something that I kept top of mind. And so in this article, I wanted to kind of focus on how you choose a word so that it's helpful for you. And if it's something that you have wanted to do, but you're just kind of not sure like how you want to do it or how you do it, I wanted to walk through some of the steps today in how you choose a word. All right. So in this article, what these authors said first is to begin by unplugging from your busy life. Now, I know that we've all said that, right? I know that it's, for some, it's really easy because all they have to do is put their phone away. For me, oh my gosh, like it's a hard thing to do because my phone is constantly tethered to me. But what it means by unplugging from your busy life is stepping away. We all know that, right? Stepping away from your computer, stepping away from the TV, turning off your phone, giving yourself some time, for those of you who do this, to meditate or just to sit in the quiet. I have found that I get so much done not being overstimulated too. So if I need to write, I need to be in complete silence, and quiet, so that I can think and my thoughts can come out, maybe for some of you, it means taking a walk or spending time in nature. Here in Colorado, yeah, it's a little cold to do that. But for those of you who are, you've got this private sanctuary somewhere, or some quiet place that you can sit back. So unplug and find a place to be quiet. Shut out different ways. Shut out the world for just a little bit so that you can focus, right? So that's what it means. And to find a way to just think about, how do you want to focus on your next year? And sometimes the word just comes to you. So that's the first thing, is to begin by unplugging from your busy life. The second thing they talk about is to ask yourself 3 important questions. So I want to go through these 3 important questions. Number 1 is, what do I need? Number 2 is, what's in my way? And number 3 is, what needs to go? All right. So when you think about what do I actually need, when you ask yourself the question, okay, what do I want? it kind of gives you a little bit more of a path of being more ambitious. And you come up with ambitious goals when you ask about what do I want. But when you really think about when you ask that question about what do I need, it is really looking at, okay, what do I actually need that I actually don't have at this moment? So that's what I want you to focus on with these three important questions. The first thing is, what do I actually need? It's what you don't have at this moment that you actually need. The second question would be, what's in your way? Does that mean your work schedule? Does it mean that you have to modify it? Does it mean that maybe you have to start saying no to things that you're saying yes to? So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to leave your work or leave what you're doing, but think about ways that, what are some things that are making you get off the path, right? Or get off of your focus? And what's getting in your way that you might be able to remove? So that's the second thing, is what is in your way. The third thing is, what needs to go? And it's similar to what is in your way, but not only tangible things. I'm not really talking about all the tangible things, but maybe like what about fear? Fear is a huge thing. Can you let go of fear? I know all of us focus on fear, and we all deal with fear. And it's funny, I just finished a chapter on fear. So there's a lot of information that I am so excited to share with you on our chapter on fear. But, maybe it's something that you need to take the steps to overcome this fear. Maybe it's of being rejected or being dismissed. If you're trying to reach out to somebody, or if you're trying to network, both personally or professionally, right? And so the three questions again is, what do you actually need? What's in your way? And what needs to go? So that's the second thing that they say to focus on. The third way to pick your word is to open your heart. And again, consider these questions, and your word should kind of come to you if you're going to really open your heart. And some of the questions that would guide this would be, what needs to be done in me and through me? And that doesn't necessarily mean that, some of you might be religious, some of you might not. But if you sit back and think about what needs to be done in me, right? I mean, we're setting goals. For those of you who love to set goals, and you're doing SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, is it repeatable and tangible, or time sensitive? I'm sorry. If you're doing SMART goals, what are you trying to get on the other side? What needs to be done in you and through you to get to that other side? So really opening yourself to that, opening your heart, opening your mind, to be able to, again, sit and try to find that word. One year I went to this retreat. And in this retreat, and I talked about it before in some of my episodes, but this was called an elite retreat. And I was there with about maybe 8 other women. And in the beginning, I was frustrated because I was never given an agenda, and we showed up, and I didn't really know what we were going to do, but there was a lot of time for self-reflection. And there was a lot of time where I sat around and had a journal. And that's just something that I don't do because I tend to keep moving and moving and moving. But in that quiet time, what we were supposed to do was to spend at least 5 to 10 minutes and think of a word of the day. We were challenged to think of a word of the day. And, shockingly, I was so shocked because when I actually sat quiet for 5 to 10 minutes, I didn't think it was going to work, but a word of the day actually came to me every single time, and I lived out that word of the day. This is just challenging you to pick a word of the year. But spending that 5 to 10 minutes, I know opening my heart, opening my mind to doing this, as well as being quiet, allowed me to receive that word. And so I thought it was super important. All right. The last thing that they talk about in this article is to let your word inspire and transform you for the coming years. So again, this is something that, it's so easy to do. It's one word that you live for the year. And so the ways that you keep it top of mind would be meaning putting it in front of you prominently. So whether that means that you stick it on your mirror every day, so that you see it when you're getting ready, whether that means you put it as a screensaver on your phone, whether it means that you put it in your phone as like a lock screen, or sometimes I've even done this before, and I was challenged to do this at a conference, was that you set an alarm on your phone. And you put the word, and I know on iPhones you can do this. I don't know if you can do that on Androids, but you can actually set an alarm, but it has a word that you can put in there. So every time that alarm goes off, every time on that time that the alarm goes off, your word pops up on the screen too. So that would be a great reminder as well. So using the word to inspire and transform you, you have to have it in front of you, right? Prominently. So find ways that you can have it there. Um, Again, that's one way. Another way would be telling people. The more people that you tell, the more people that you speak into, as far as this is my word of the year and this is what I'm saying it's going to be, the better you are to remember what it is. And then you've got accountability right there. I mean, you just killed two birds with one stone, right? And so you're keeping accountable and you're keeping it prominently in front of you by telling people and by speaking it. There's something to be said about speaking your goals and speaking it out loud that makes you keep yourself accountable, I think. So that's another thing that I want you to do. All right. So, I have another idea. Sorry. So if you are in a business or you have a company, maybe challenge your environment to come up with a word for your actual group or your whether it is a small business and you want a word for the year for the business, or if it's a bigger corporate company and you have different groups of people that are there, you might want to challenge them to have a word of the year for their particular group or for your particular business. So that would be something that would be different as well, but that you can bring it into the business world. I love to challenge people. And so what I wanted to do was put out some challenges. So number one, I wanted you to, this is a step up challenge. Number one is to use the word graphic and choose a theme. So I just saw this, and it's funny that I brought my friend Sarah Monaris up as my very first meeting of the year, and how fun it was to actually do something with her this year. But I saw this on her page today, and I wanted to put it up there because I thought it was so cool. So if you need some help, here is another way that you can actually help. You pick a word. She put this up, and I love it because basically you've seen this before, right? On different social media posts, but this allows you to choose a theme for 2020. So if you don't want to just pick out one word, you look at this kind of word scramble here, and the first three words that you see, why don't you make that your theme? Oh my gosh, what I just saw right now was perseverance, action, and presence. All right, so it's something like that you can do. So that's something that you can do, is use a word graphic and choose a theme. Choose 3 words. Those are your 3 words. So it's something that's quick you want to do, or if you want to spend a little bit more time thinking about it, I've got another challenge for you. So that's something super fun to do. I thought that was a great idea, Sarah. So I kind of stole that to share it, but I totally want to give her credit because I thought it was so cool, and what a great idea. I just want to share how I worked my word, because that's my step up challenge. Number 2 is, like I said, my girlfriend Lisa Copeland, she had challenged us to create an acronym for your word this year. So I did. And so I wanted to share my acronym for action. And this was my acronym. And it was act with confidence to take steps to increase your opportunities to grow your net worth. I know that's long and wordy, but it was something that I put up. I have it up in my office here. I carried it around as a photo on my phone so I could take a look at it. But it was something that it really took your word to the next level. And I want to challenge you to do that. So my word of the year, I'm going to share with you all because I'm going to speak it, like I said, and I still love to make it as an acronym because it helps me remember. So my word for 2020 is focus. Focus, and I came up with finish one commitment until strong. Or what my accountability partner, Reg, said is follow one course until successful. So that's my word of the year that I wanted to share with you. I wanted to challenge you to pick a word of the year. You guys, 2 more days until 2020. I really, really want you to have just this mindfulness as we enter 2020 to make sure that it's something that we hold each other accountable if we need it. We reach out through social media if we need it. But also, I really want you to focus on something that's simple that you can do and be successful at it. So I just wanted to thank you so much for joining me this whole year as I went live. I'm going to continue to do this. If there's different topics that you want me to talk about, I'm going to try to, think of some different things that we can talk about as well. I'm so glad that you joined me. If you catch it on the replay, if you catch it on YouTube, I'm hoping that you enjoyed the year with me, and I will see you next year. Have a great, great